The elevator stopped, and that's when everything changed. At first, I thought it was just a minor glitch. A few seconds, maybe a minute, and we'd be moving again. But when the lights flickered and the doors stayed shut, I felt my stomach tighten. I glanced over at him, the guy who had stepped in right before the doors closed. He smiled, just a casual smile, like it was no big deal. "Guess we're stuck," he said, shrugging. I nodded, trying to stay calm. It was just an elevator, and I was sure help would come soon. He looked harmless, just a guy in his 30s, wearing a blue button-up, carrying a small leather bag. We both hit the buttons a couple times, but nothing happened. I pulled out my phone. No service. "You got anything?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He checked his phone, shaking his head. "Nah, nothing. I'm sure they'll notice soon. Someone's probably already working on it." He slipped his phone back in his pocket, like he wasn't worried at all. The first 10 minutes were fine. We chatted a bit. Just small talk. He asked if I worked in the building, and I said yeah, on the 8th floor. He smiled, like he already knew that. I ignored the feeling that gave me, figuring it was just me being on edge. After about 20 minutes, the air started to feel heavy. I was sitting on the floor by then, my legs getting tired. He stayed standing, leaning against the wall, watching me. Not in a weird way, just watching. I kept thinking how quiet it was, like the world outside didn't exist anymore. No sounds, no movement, just the two of us. "You come here every day, right?" he asked suddenly. I frowned. Yeah, I work here." "No, I mean," he paused. "This time, you take this elevator around 6 every day, right?" I felt my throat tighten. That was true. I usually left work at the same time, took the same elevator, same routine. "How would you know that?" I tried to keep my tone light, but my voice cracked. He smiled again, but this time it didn't reach his eyes. "Just noticed, I guess." He moved a bit closer, leaning down so we were at eye level. "People are predictable like that, you know." Something about his eyes changed, like he was enjoying this too much. I forced a laugh, trying to hide the fear creeping up inside me. "Yeah, I guess so." "You always wear that red coat too," he added, his voice soft, like he was talking about the weather. "I like it on you. Makes you stand out." My heart started pounding. I hadn't noticed it before, but now I could feel the walls closing in, the air getting thicker. He knew too much, not just about today, but other days, my routine, my clothes. Do we know each other?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Not really," he said, still smiling. "But I've seen you around, enough to feel like I do." I wanted to scream, to hit the emergency button over and over until someone heard me, but I didn't move. He just kept looking at me, his eyes scanning my face, waiting for a reaction. "You're nervous," he said, almost like he was amused. He knelt down, so close now I could feel his breath. "You shouldn't be. I'm not going to hurt you." I swallowed hard. "Why are you doing this?" He tilted his head like he was thinking. "Doing what? We're just stuck in an elevator. I'm just talking." Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. He talked about random things, places he'd been, people he knew, but the whole time his eyes stayed locked on me, like I was some kind of puzzle he was trying to solve. I tried to stay calm, tried to act like I wasn't terrified, but my hands were shaking, and I could feel tears welling up. "Why me?" I whispered at one point. He paused like he hadn't expected the question. "Why not you?" he said finally, his smile widening. "You're interesting. You're always so focused, always in your own world. It's like you don't even notice the people around you. I just wanted to get your attention." I pressed myself back against the wall, wishing I could disappear into it. My phone was still dead, no service, no escape. I thought about my family, my friends, and if anyone even knew I was here, if anyone was looking for me. Suddenly the elevator jerked, the lights flickering back on. A voice crackled over the speaker. Someone from maintenance telling us they were getting us out. Relief washed over me so strong I almost cried. The man stood up, dusting off his pants, and looked at me one last time. "See you around," he said, his voice calm, almost friendly. When the doors opened, I stumbled out, barely hearing the maintenance guy's apologies. I glanced back, but the man was already gone, lost in the crowd. My knees felt weak as I walked out of the building, the cold air hitting my face. I knew I'd never take that elevator again, and I knew that somehow he'd be watching, waiting for the next time our paths crossed. Story 2. I didn't think it'd end like this, trapped in an elevator with a killer and no way out. It's funny how you take a job for extra cash, think it'll be boring shifts, coffee breaks, and empty hallways. Nothing ever happens, right? But then, one night, everything goes to hell. It was supposed to be simple. I was watching over a high-rise downtown, some big corporate place. They told me some guy had been caught sneaking around, a thief or worse, and we were on high alert. I got the graveyard shift, the one no one wanted. Just me, an empty building, and the soft buzz of the security cameras. Easy money. Around 2 a.m., I was doing my rounds. Floors all empty, everything quiet, just the way I liked it. I was about to head down when I saw him, a guy standing by the elevators on the 12th floor. He looked like he was waiting, but something felt off. His clothes were too clean, too proper, like he was trying too hard to blend in. I walked up, keeping my voice steady. "Hey, you lost or something?" He looked at me, his eyes dark, too calm. He smiled, the kind of smile that made my skin crawl. "Just need a ride down," he said. I should have called it in. Something in my gut told me to. But it was late, and my brain was foggy from all the hours. I nodded, pressed the button, and waited for the elevator. The doors opened, and we stepped in. I hit the ground floor button, watching the numbers light up as we started to descend. It was around the 9th floor when the elevator jerked to a stop. Lights flickered. We both stood there, waiting, expecting it to move again. But it didn't. Just silence. I reached for the emergency button, pressing it a couple of times, and nothing. Not even a crackle from the intercom. The guy beside me didn't say a word. He just watched me, that same damn smile on his face. My hand hovered near my radio, but before I could reach for it, he spoke. "You know who I am, don't you?" I stared at him and my stomach dropped. The way he looked at me, it clicked. He wasn't just some guy. He was the reason we were on high alert, the guy we were supposed to be guarding against. And here I was, stuck in a box with him, 10 stories above the ground. I tried to keep my face straight, not let on that I knew. "Nah, man, just trying to get this thing moving," I said, my voice shaking a bit. He stepped closer, his eyes never leaving mine. "You know, they said someone would be watching for me. Guess that's you, huh?" His voice was calm, too calm, like he knew he had the upper hand. My heart started pounding. I backed up, pressing myself against the wall of the elevator. My radio crackled on my hip, but before I could grab it, he lunged. His hand was around my wrist, squeezing tight. "No need for that," he whispered, his breath hot against my face. I tried to twist away, but he was stronger than he looked. I could feel my pulse in my ears, the walls of the elevator closing in. He pushed me back, my head smacking against the metal wall. Pain shot through my skull, my vision blurring for a second. "Why don't we just wait it out, huh?" he said, his voice smooth like this was all some big joke. He let go of my wrist and I stumbled, trying to catch my breath. The elevator was still, no sound except for my ragged breathing and the faint hum of the lights. I had to think. I had to get out of there. My eyes darted to the emergency hatch above us, but he noticed. He shook his head, wagging a finger at me like I was a kid caught stealing candy. We're in this together now. Minutes felt like hours. I kept my back to the wall, my eyes on him, watching every move. He just stood there, relaxed, like he had all the time in the world. He hummed a tune, something slow, something that made my skin crawl. I tried the emergency button again, slamming my hand against it, but nothing. He laughed, a low chuckle that echoed in the small space. "No one's coming," he said. Just you and me, till the end. I didn't know what he meant by the end, but I wasn't planning on finding out. I inched towards my radio again, my fingers brushing the edge. He saw, his eyes narrowing, and for a split second, I thought he was going to lunge at me again. Then, a jolt. The elevator shuddered, lights flickering once more, and suddenly we were moving. Slowly, the numbers started lighting up again. 8, 7, 6. My heart pounded as we got closer to the ground floor, my eyes never leaving his. He just smiled, that same eerie smile, and when the doors finally opened, he stepped out like nothing had happened. He turned back to me, gave a small wave. See you around, guard. And just like that, he disappeared into the dark lobby, leaving me there, shaking, my knees about to give out. I grabbed my radio, finally calling it in, my voice cracking as I tried to explain. But by the time backup arrived, he was long gone. I don't know if I'll ever see him again. But that smile, the way he looked at me like he knew something I didn't, it's burned into my mind. I took the job for easy money, but now I'm wondering if it's worth it. Wondering if next time I'll be as lucky to get out alive.